I watch my video. I'll go
If you
fuck
go
it.
to a Google map of Rio de Janeiro and put it into 3D mode,
Having
you
a
can see
really
what the
tough
city
few
looks like
days.
as it was
Realised
designed
my
by urban
GF is
planners.
gaslighting me all the time.
But you'll notice
and my
parts of the
mental is
city
fucked.
that don't look like the
Anyways,
rest.
Here's a link, please watch it. It's pretty funny. Smile.
Look on.
See the difference? The people who live in these parts of the city with the clean lines and the well thought out design are called people of the asphalt. The people who live in these parts of the city are called people of the hill. Even though the people of the asphalt and the people of the hill live closely intertwined throughout the city, they live vastly different lives. These informal communities
Jesus.
that look like houses stacked on top of each other, sprouting out of the jungle, are called favelas, home to both vicious drug gangs as well as some of the most peaceful, creative, and resourceful people in
Guys,
Rio.
this is... It's not even taking such a quick... Do you have to buy land and, like, houses? Is it the same way how it works?
I want to show you what they look like on the inside.
Is it expensive? Because Rio is like a... Isn't that one like a very famous city? Is it expensive?
A favela is a community that was built without any oversight of a public authority. No zoning, no building codes, no public services. These places just kind of grew out of the hills over time thanks to two main factors.
Holy shit, is that right? Hold up, sorry about that. Sorry for just stopping video.
A favela is a community that was built without any oversight of a public authority. No zoning, no building codes, no public services.
Like the... Holy shit, dude. Look at this setup.
These places just kind of grew out of the hills over time thanks to two main factors. First was slavery. Brazil imported 11 times more slaves than the United States did, and Rio alone was home to more slaves than the entire American South. Slavery ended in 1888, and free slaves, still denied many rights in society, built these informal communities on their own. In more recent times, favelas have been fueled by massive migrations from rural Brazilians coming into the city looking for work.
Guys,
Not able
it's
to find
history and
affordable
context
housing,
important.
these workers built their own
For
communities.
the video.
Today, 25% of Rio's residents live in these favelas. I spent time in 6 of Rio's favelas.
That's a lot.
To try to figure out what happens when parts of a city develop without the presence of a government. This is Rocinha. It's Brazil's largest favela, and it has been dubbed a city within a city. It's a completely self-sufficient economy, the result of decades of makeshift
these wires,
solutions
that's
to basic
scary,
needs
dude.
like electricity and running water. Without a formal government presence, the residents of Rocinha created their own association, which helps coordinate public projects and resources.
If that wire
Since
falls
these
in...
associations grew up totally informally by people who had no training in
How
public
do you figure out
administration,
what to do?
the resulting community design brings with it a little more zest and creativity than your traditional city.
You don't? Okay.
But make no mistake, Rocinha is a full-on, functioning mini-city within the city of Rio de Janeiro. This impromptu resourcefulness is common within favelas. Here I am in Vidigal, a favela not far from Rocinha. This man Paulo is showing me his garden, but it wasn't always a garden. 15 years
that's
ago,
cool, then.
this hill that we stand on was teeming with garbage. Paulo decided to clean it up, planting trees and cultivating a garden space that now produces fruit. He did this without asking permission because, after all, there was no one to ask permission
Oh,
from.
see, I was
If you
right
look around
then.
the garden, you'll realize that everything is made from trash.
He's rolling, dude.
On the other side of the city is a favela called Maré. People in this community have created art centers for young people to come and learn new skills. They also support established artists to create projects around the city that explore and communicate life in the favela. Here they are building a model of their favela out of recycled wood.
That looks really cool.
In Providencia, a favela near the port zone, I met up with this guy, Mauricio, a photographer who lives in this amazing house. Mauricio photographs life in the favela and provides transparency to the good and the bad of these places. He thinks of photography as a weapon to fight against everything from drug cartels to the government when they show up trying to remove parts of his community. Whenever he sees corruption or foul play in his community, he photographs it, and distributes it to a network of local and international media contacts. Over the years, people
What, does that not make him a
domestic-
target?
É sempre brigando. Então, essa é uma arma que dói muito neles. A fotografia dói muito neles. Você resolve muito fácil com a fotografia.
So why are these people who live in poverty and neglect so driven to create beauty in order to survive?
É porque você sempre espera pelo poder público. E o poder público nunca está pronto para você. Porque se a gente não fizer aqui, não é eles que vão vir aqui fazer.
As coisas são mais permitidas.
Tá
E
vendo?
outro é um lugar muito esquecido.
This reality of neglect from public investment has created a culture of creative survival. But there's a dark side to this too.
So right now we're traveling over Complexo de Alemão, which is a huge
In a gondola.
complex or block of favelas. We're not going into the streets today because this place is still very much run by drug trafficking gangs. I would be sugarcoating the situation if I didn't talk about the fact that drug gangs still have major influence in a lot of the favelas, and Alemão is one of those places.
Perhaps the most powerful gang in Rio is called the Red Command, a group that began as a left-wing political rebellion and whose headquarters are here in Alemão. Cocaine arrived in Rio in the 1980s, enriching the gangs and allowing them to grow in power and territory. The Red Command became more violent and lost its political
Jesus, man. Yo, a Kimbo Glock extended mag, like, what is this, like 30 mag, dude? 25?
and lost its political ideology, focusing entirely on drug and arms trafficking.
The fact that favelas are informal and unregulated, it means
50.
both that they can become incredibly vibrant because people can take this attitude and build on qualities and be creative and change your
Yo,
environment.
you never
but
played-
it also
you never
means
played Modern
that
Warfare, dude?
incredibly dysfunctional places when the energy and the kind of approach is the opposite. So you have these two extremes and they come out of the same force of kind of informality and lack of regulation and kind of flexibility.
In 2008, the city of Rio was ready to take over the lawless territories of Rio. They assembled a special force of police officers to enter the favelas and drive out the gang influence. They called this process pacification of the favelas. But this gets tricky really fast.
Does it get to
There's
US
been
here?
this big
Not to US, I
discussion in
don't
the
think.
United States about police brutality. But Brazil is on a whole different level when it comes to police violence and corruption. Human Rights Watch estimates that US police kill 1 person for every 37,000 arrests. In Rio, they say that number is 1 in every 23
Holy
arrests.
shit,
So you can
dude!
see why some felt skeptical of letting the police come into the favelas to try to restore order. This is Santa Marta. It's the first favela that received pacification forces
shit.
back in 2008. It also happens to be the place where Michael Jackson decided to shoot a music video.
4%.
Era muito violenta, uma comunidade muito violenta, um poder
Mas é que
armado
são-
muito forte aqui, né? Tinha dia de tiroteio começar de manhã e terminar à noite, em pleno na praça. E depois da pacificação, foi a zero, chegou a zero.
What about internet? Is there any
Pacification
internet in
worked
there?
for Santa Marta and a few other favelas for the first few years after 2008. But this favela is small, and the city dedicated its best police forces to the job. It's been a whole different experience in places like Alemão and other bigger favelas. Many of the favelas that I visited that had apparently been pacified were very clearly still under the influence of the Red Command.
That
So
was a
while
good
there have
video.
been some successes in pacification, the city still has a huge challenge ahead of it in taking control of these places. International attention paid to favelas is usually directed towards the conflict between the gangs and the police. There's movies and video games about this. This problem has been perhaps disproportionately amplified across the world. But while gang violence is certainly a problem, it represents one small slice of the favela experience. What seems to me as the more striking and interesting aspect of favelas are the thousands of men and women who are thriving in creative ways, in spite of being neglected by their government.
Makes sense. Guys, that was a good video. Chat, why is this chat acting weird? Guys, can we stop molding? Guys, it's so weird, dude. Stop molding, dude. Clean the chat, dude.
xQc.
Yeah, okay.